Now, breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Ghost gun ruling. The Supreme Court upholds a Biden rule regulating gun parts that can be assembled by owners.
And it's a beautiful afternoon in the gardens, but there's a frost advisory in effect for tonight. I'll show you what you should do ahead of it.
Plus, crossed signals, texts shared in a chat were play-by-play. That's the word from a U.S. defense official as we are getting a look at additional messages shared with a journalist by mistake. What they reveal.
We will get to enjoy a beautiful sunny afternoon, but a cold night is on the way, perhaps cold enough for frost. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Chu.
And I'm Jeff Hogan. And meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is out on the WRAL weather patio right now with a look at who will be under that frost advisory, Elizabeth.
We're looking at mainly our northern counties as being under that frost advisory. I'm happy having this jacket out here. Actually, I have a short sleeve shirt on. And so, I think a light sweater would be fine out here. Temperatures are going to be noticeably cooler this afternoon than they were yesterday, but it's still going to be lovely for being outside. Plenty of golfers out here in Pinehurst at the Pinehurst Resort and Country Club. 58 degrees right now. We do have a northwesterly wind, and that is why temperatures will be cooler. It'll be about 10 degrees cooler this afternoon, and we'll notice a big drop in our temperatures overnight tonight as well. Currently, we're ranging from 52 in Roxborough to 63 in Fayetteville, so it feels pretty comfortably cool out here. But this is a look at our temperatures overnight tonight. Expect 32 in Roxborough, 34 in South Hill, 33 Roanoke Rapids, 34 in Lewisburg, 35 in Sanford, and 35 in Rocky Mount. So from Raleigh northward, we have the potential for some patchy frost. This is not likely to be a hard freeze, just some scattered frost. And you can see all the counties from Sanford northward and Wilson northward, minus Wake County, are in that frost advisory. So that means some scattered frost is possible. We'll take a look at it a slightly different way. This is a look at a map of where we'll have the best chance of seeing frost. And if you're in one of those areas and you've already started planting, you're going to want to cover what you've planted. If we have farmers in those areas with tender vegetation, they know what to do. They will do frost mitigation overnight tonight. Tonight is the only night that we're looking at temperatures in the 30s through the weekend. A nice warm up. I'll show you when we'll hit 80 for the high temperature coming up.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center following that breaking news that Renee mentioned at the top of the show. The Supreme Court upholds rules requiring background checks for ghost guns. Those are those mail order kits that actually allow people to build untraceable weapons at home. Now, regulations created by the Biden administration in 2022 required ghost gun makers to include serial numbers and also perform background checks on people who purchase them. But Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the opinion for a 7-2 majority, saying that the way Americans think about guns has changed today. It's not clear how the Trump administration is going to deal with this going forward. Trump did sign an order back in February requiring the Attorney General to review gun regulations imposed during the Biden administration.
Thanks, Michelle. The Justice Department is considering whether to defend the federal government's restrictions on gun silencers. The silencers, or suppressors as they're called, are legal in 42 states. The Justice Department has defended the law for decades, arguing it doesn't ban silencers, but simply governs how a buyer can acquire one. Gun rights advocates say silencers are not frequently used in crimes. Meanwhile, gun safety groups say silencers make it hard for people to hear a mass shooting.
Hundreds of nurses are at the state legislature today lobbying lawmakers. They're asking for more medical independence and more funding for nursing schools. And they also heard from Governor Josh Stein this morning. WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie was there. She joins us live from the state legislative building with the takeaways. Laura.
Yeah, the governor was talking to the nurses this morning. He told them that they are critical to the state's health, especially in rural areas where health care can otherwise be pretty hard to find. He said one of his top spending priorities is adding more spaces at nursing schools. Stein said the state population of older adults is growing quickly, and that means more demand for nursing, an area where North Carolina already has a shortage. Stein said lawmakers need to act now to open more spaces and to create more training programs, especially in rural areas.
We must invest in our nursing pipeline to reduce vacancies and staffing shortages. North Carolina is expected to face a shortage of approximately 12,500 nurses and 5,000 licensed practical nurses in the next 8 years.
Nurses are also asking for more independence from doctors, and that's a more controversial request. They want to ease the laws requiring nurse practitioners to work under a doctor's supervision, which is often, they say, little more than a sign-off on their charts, but they have to pay doctors to do that. They say cutting that cost would make primary care more affordable for everyone. The State Medical Society, which represents doctors, is opposed to making that change. They say it could endanger patient safety. We're likely to hear a whole lot more about this issue this afternoon at a rally right here outside the Legislative Building. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
At least 11 homes have been destroyed by the wildfires burning in western North Carolina. More than 6,000 acres have been scorched so far. The Black Cove and Deep Woods fires are both 0% contained. The Fishhook fire is 72% contained. While Helene's aftermath is creating challenges for firefighters, crews are also using it to their advantage.
We use ridges, rivers, creeks, even debris flows that have been left over from the gift from Helene, rocks, whatever we can in there, we'll anchor to those and dig in line or push line off of that. If there are any roads that are usable, we'll use those as well.
The cause of the Fishhook and Black Cove fires was determined to be downed power lines.
The National Guard rescued a firefighter who was hurt while battling those wildfires in western North Carolina. The firefighter's leg was injured while clearing a perimeter close to Asheville. According to the National Guard, a tree fell on him, trapping him underneath. It took 30 minutes to rescue the man. He was taken to a nearby hospital. He is expected to be okay. Today marks 6 months since Hurricane Helene decimated parts of western North Carolina. More than a dozen leaders are meeting today with FEMA officials in Washington, D.C. They are sharing stories of their ongoing recovery and long-term needs. A week ago, Governor Josh Stein signed a $500 million aid package to help rebuild those communities.
Top intelligence issues are the topic again today on Capitol Hill, where you are looking live now after sensitive military information was shared in a group text chat. The reporter who was accidentally added to that group chat with top government officials has released the thread. The action comes after President Trump and his allies are downplaying the incidents. NBC's Alice Barr reports.
This disrespect for our...
On Capitol Hill, growing outrage over that Signal group chat between top U.S. officials discussing sensitive details of impending airstrikes in Yemen, with a journalist inadvertently added.
This is utterly unprofessional. There's been no apology.
While from the White House, President Trump overnight downplayed the discussions.
There was no problem, and the attack was a tremendous success.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz acknowledging he created the Signal thread.
I take full responsibility. I built the group.
That somehow invited the Atlantic magazine's top editor, Jeffrey Goldberg.
We've got the best technical minds looking at how this happened.
Goldberg says the chat included Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, reporting that Hegseth texted information, quote, about targets, weapons the U.S. would be deploying, and attack sequencing 2 hours before U.S. strikes on the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen.
Nobody's texting more plans. I know exactly what I'm doing.
The Atlantic has now released all the texts Goldberg received after repeated claims from President Trump and top officials that they contain no classified information.
So at a certain point, I just felt, let our readers decide for themselves.
Also on the thread, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who faced a grilling in a Senate hearing, both denying any information in the chat was classified.
My communications, to be clear, in a Signal message group were entirely permissible and lawful.
There was no classified material that was shared in that
So then
Signal
if there was no
chat.
classified material, share it with the committee. You can't have it both ways.
As calls for an investigation grow louder. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And the controversy comes as Vice President Vance prepares for a trip to Greenland. That visit is being scaled back to avoid planned protests against the Trump administration's plans to take control of that Danish territory.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, layoffs at RTI International are expected to grow to about 525 in the Triangle by May 1st. This just announced. The nonprofit organization has been slashing staff as the Trump administration cuts federal research grants. Because of the sudden cuts, RTI says it had to eliminate some positions with fewer than 60 days notice. More cuts are expected.
Wall Street had a very strong performance in 2024, and that's good news for more than 200,000 people in the securities industry. The average bonus paid to employees was nearly $245,000, a record high. That's 3 times higher than the $80,000 median U.S. household income.
President Donald Trump's pick to run the Social Security Administration was on Capitol Hill. Frank Bisignano was pressed by senators about his plan to reform that program that millions of Americans rely on. He promised he would not push to privatize the system. Bisignano's testimony comes as the agency is in the crosshairs of a budget battle that could lead to dramatic reforms. Tonight, Raleigh Mayor Janet Cowell will give her first State of the City address. Cowell will speak at 6 tonight at the Raleigh Convention Center. She plans to talk about what she and City Council have achieved in their first 100 days. The top priority areas have been housing and ending homelessness, public safety, and resilience and quality of place.
Next at noon, the Baltimore Bridge collapsed. 1 year later, what the investigation has revealed and the plans to build a new bridge.
Also, measles on the move. It has crossed the country now. The warning from health officials after the latest detection in D.C.
Plus, trying to make sense of a Durham crash that killed a man. At 12:30, what came out of the court appearance for the man accused of causing that crash?
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.
Tonight, loved ones of a 7-year-old boy who drowned in the Tar River will hold a candlelight memorial service in his honor. Ronald Brody Jr. is the one who was found in that river. This is him right here. Search crews pulled him out from that river in Franklin County yesterday, more than a week after he fell in the water there. Ronald's family asked and thanked first responders who spent more than 100 hours searching 11 miles of the river and shoreline. They also reflected on Ronald's smile and the memories they have of him. Tonight's vigil is at 6, right off Hodges Road near Franklinton, and it is open to the public. A Wayne County family is not giving up in their search for a missing man. Stephen Walls was reported missing March 17th. Walls' mother says she has little information to work with other than being told he was last spotted at a store in Seven Springs. Walls is about 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs 120 pounds. A spokesperson with Wayne County tells WRAL detectives are actively investigating, but they have no other details.
Today marks 1 year since a cargo ship slammed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge. 6 construction workers died when a portion of the structure crumbled into the water. Jay Gray is at the Port of Baltimore with an update on plans to build a new bridge.
Well, the mayor of Baltimore has called this a heavy day, a very difficult day for his city in this region. You can see the remnants of the Key Bridge just behind us here a year after the tragedy that unfolded today. Officials as well as family members of the victims gathering to mark the day and remember and honor those lost.
We remember the cold morning in March that changed our state forever. And we remember the tears that we shed and the uncertainty that we all felt. What happened on March 26, 2024 is and will always be a tragedy beyond words. And to the families of the victims that are with us today, there is little that I can say to truly be the balm for the pain that you feel.
The NTSB continues its investigation and expects to release a full report on the crash this fall. That as land as well as underwater surveys are continuing here at the scene with construction on a new bridge set to begin by the end of this year. Jay Gray, NBC News, Baltimore.
And it's a very windy day in Baltimore. As you can see the camera shake, we're looking live here at the remnants of the Baltimore Bridge. The new bridge is expected to be finished sometime in 2028. It will be Maryland's first cable-stayed bridge. Congress has agreed to cover the nearly $2 billion price tag.
Today, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem will visit a high-security El Salvador prison. That's where hundreds of Venezuelans were taken after President Trump invoked the Alien Enemies Act of 1789. Flights were in the air March 15th when a federal judge issued a verbal order temporarily barring the deportations and ordered planes returned to the U.S. The Trump administration claims the deportees are members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang. During the three-day trip, Noem will also travel to Colombia and Mexico. New at noon, dramatic video shows a Russian cargo plane skidding off a runway during an emergency landing. It happened earlier today. According to officials, that plane came off the runway after its landing gear gave way. 8 people were on board. No one was injured.
Health officials are warning people about the growing measles after infection was reported in Washington, D.C., the growing measles outbreak. This happening as tourists make their way to the city for cherry blossom season. According to the D.C. Department of Health, a person who recently traveled to the nation's capital from Minnesota was infected with measles. Health officials say the person traveled through several places, including an Amtrak, while contagious.
If you are unvaccinated and you were riding in the car with someone who was infected and contagious with measles, you stand a very high chance of getting sick yourself.
According to the CDC, there were 285 measles cases in the U.S. last year. 89% of those were not vaccinated.
Wake County celebrated the expansion of free dental care for children with a floss cutting this morning. Dental care providers and county leaders gathered at Wake County Western Health and Human Services Center in Cary for that grand opening. The no-cost dental clinics already have provided more than 7,000 preventative dental visits to uninsured children. This new location will help those in underserved areas of the county get the same care.
By having this resource for them, we're able to hopefully get them in before the issues become emergent, so we can get them the oral health education, get them the preventative treatment that they need, and then get them connected and start that restorative treatment.
This site will serve Apex, Cary, and Morrisville patients, and they saw their very first person come in at 8:45 this morning. You just feel the smiles getting brighter, right? It's not just because of the weather.
Yeah, well, the sunshine is bright too. You smile when you step outside with all that sun. Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio, and it's a little cooler than yesterday, but still very pleasant.
It is absolutely stunningly gorgeous out here. But yes, and you know, if I could have been fine probably, you know, in a long sleeve shirt or something like that, but it's definitely not really shorts and t-shirts weather out here, at least for me. We take a live look at the gardens behind me. The wind is starting to really kick up. We're going to see some gusts out here up to maybe 20, maybe even 25 miles per hour. We're going to check the wind gusts in just a few minutes, but you can see how pretty it is. We are just on the cusp of seeing the azalea gardens just explode with color. We're close. It's not quite there yet, but give it another week. We get into that first week of April next week, and it'll last, you know, at least 3 weeks. And there are going to be a lot of people coming out to see it, I know. It's 58 degrees right now. Dew point is low at 30. We'll see 65 for the high temperature this afternoon. 52 in Roxborough, 59 Rocky Mount, 63 in Fayetteville right now. It's cooler in the north. I mean, it typically is, but especially on a day like today where we have a northerly, northeasterly wind, it's really pulling that cool air into the northern counties first. This is a look around the triangle. It is 58 in Holly Springs, 56 degrees in Garner right now. We're looking at 58 in Cary and 55 in Wake Forest. So pretty uniformly in the 50s right now, but 65 for the high in Raleigh and Durham and 69 in Fayetteville this afternoon. Of course, we talked about the frost advisory. If you missed it at the beginning of the newscast, it's the counties that border Virginia and then a few more of those, Durham County, Orange County, and then down toward Chatham County. Those are the ones that are in the frost advisory. So if you, you know, are just a regular person, you know, like me, you've already started to plant, you want to cover up your plants. And then if you're a farmer, you know, farmers are well well equipped to deal with some spring frost, and so they'll do what they can to protect their crops for sure. Temperatures 32 in Roxborough, 34 South Hill, 36 Durham, 34 in Lewisburg. That's what we're looking at overnight tonight. So it's going to be cold. I mean, widespread 30s for tomorrow morning. And then you can see here where you have the blue shaded area, that's where we'll have the best chance of seeing frost. So we're not seeing, a widespread freeze. This is not a hard freeze. It's just some patchy frost in our northern counties. The blue shaded area is where temperatures are below normal. We're below normal today and tomorrow, but by Friday, watch how the yellows start to move in, and temperatures are really going to warm up nicely Friday, Saturday, and into Sunday. All right, our wind speeds right now are in the highest spots at 23 in Fayetteville. We're gusting to 22 in Rocky Mount and 21 in Durham, so it's definitely breezy out here. We're going to continue to see gusty winds all the way through the evening, and then those should begin to die down a little bit. Those gusty winds, of course, bring high fire danger, and we're seeing a lot of fires across North Carolina. Not as many in our viewing area, but you just want to put off outdoor burning for another couple of days. But get outside and enjoy this beautiful weather and this gorgeous photo. Renee sent us this. She snapped this one yesterday of the cherry trees that line Western Boulevard right here at the station. So pretty. Go to WRAL.com/report it and send us your photos. Of course, the pollen counts are high. There's actually pollen in the tree right behind us, and it is blowing around out here. We have a chance for strong storms Sunday and Monday. Closer look at that coming up.
Elizabeth, thanks.
Good pick.
Well, if you can't make it to the Washington, D.C. Cherry Blossom Festival, then just, look at the ones on Western Boulevard.
Got it.
Yeah. Family toll of dementia. Coming up this afternoon at 4, Shark Tank's Barbara Corcoran opens up about being a caregiver for her mother with dementia.
And you're being tracked. If you bought a new car in the last 5 years, your driving habits might be worth more than you think. Coming up at 5:30. How automakers reveal how tracking and selling your data, often without you even knowing it.
Dollar Tree is selling Family Dollar to a group of private equity firms for $1 billion. The Charlotte-based company will be sold to Brigade Capital Management. The deal is expected to close next quarter. Dollar Tree bought Family Dollar in 2015 for $9 billion. The chain has since struggled. Last year, they announced plans to close more than 900 stores. When booking a hotel, avoid look-alike third-party websites. According to the Wall Street Journal, these sites typically pop up in ads. These sites often charge extra fees and may not be directly linked to the hotel. If you book through them, it could cost you hundreds more. If scammed, try to cancel or file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission.
A federal judge has set a trial date in the Justice Department's criminal fraud case against Boeing. That date is now set for June 23rd. Boeing is accused of misleading regulators about the 737 MAX jets before 2 deadly crashes. Boeing and the Justice Department have spent months trying to renegotiate a plea agreement struck last year, which calls for Boeing to plead guilty to a single felony charge. The judge rejected that deal in December. AT&T is cutting its auto pay and paperless billing discounts starting April 24th. Customers enrolled in those programs will get $5 off their monthly bill instead of $10 when they pay with a credit card, or a debit card, I should say. AT&T is also doing away with that current $5 discount for paperless and auto pay customers with a linked credit card. The company will continue to offer a $10 discount to people who use their bank accounts for auto pay. No bond. A man charged in a deadly crash is ordered to stay in jail until his trial. We're live with his long history of run-ins with the law.
Also, registration rigmarole. Some say a new executive order signed by President Trump is unnecessary. How it could impact future elections. First, here's a look at the winning lottery numbers.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
Funeral services will be held Friday for a Durham man who died after a crash. Jermaine Clement was riding in a vehicle that was struck by a speeding vehicle. And this morning, one of the men charged in his death appeared in court. WRAL Sean Gallagher is live at the Durham County Courthouse with what we've learned about the suspect's past. Sean.
Yeah, Sharon Evans has a lengthy criminal history, but in this case, he faces 6 total charges, including a second-degree murder charge. At just 20 years old, he has a lengthy criminal history and been out on bond for all of the charges against him while he's awaiting trial on those cases. But in this case, Evans is accused of stealing a vehicle last week and running from police, crashing into another vehicle at the intersection of Southwest Durham Drive and Durham Chapel Hill Boulevard. The passenger in that car he hit, Jermaine Clement, died as a result. The assistant district attorney says Clement was on his way to a dialysis treatment at the time. She read a statement from his family during today's hearing.
This senseless act of violence has left our family heartbroken and angry. Jermaine did not deserve to leave this life in such a manner, and we are struggling to come to terms with the tragic loss of someone so dear to us. We respectfully ask this court to hold the responsible party fully accountable and to apply the strictest penalty for this criminal act.
And this is Evans' 14th time in front of a judge in the last 18 months, including today's charges. He faces 56 total charges during that time, and in total, he's been issued $145,000 in bonds over just the last year and a half. But that bond total will not increase. Despite the district attorney asking for a $2 million bond in this case, the judge decided not to issue one at all, so he will remain behind bars. Now, the funeral for the gentleman who was killed in this crash will be held later this week in Durham on Friday afternoon. In Durham, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
And happening right now in the WRAL Live Center following some breaking news in Durham. Sky 5 over the scene of a very large fire. This is at a salvage yard off of Wren Road in Durham. You can see the large black plume of smoke there. The flames, you can see the flames. It appears that many different cars are on fire here. A lot of different fire trucks are on scene working to see if they can get this fire out. We don't have too much information on this, how it started, how many cars are being affected, but this is serious. This black plume of smoke can be seen for miles. Again, Sky 5 over the scene off of Wren Road in Durham. We are going to stay on top of this and bring you the latest updates as we learn more from the Live Center.
A tractor trailer overturned on Interstate 95 in Nash County this morning. That crash closed northbound lanes of I-95 right near the Dorchester Boulevard exit. You see it here on this map. That's in Rocky Mount. They were closed for several hours. Thousands of beverages spilled out into the road. According to Highway Patrol, the tractor trailer ran off the road, overcorrected, and then overturned. The driver was not hurt. And no one is hurt after a house fire in Raleigh. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was there on the scene on Tunis Street, not far from Lewisburg and Mitchell Mill Roads. Authorities say the fire started about 9 last night. They say it was a minor fire and no one was home at the time, and investigators are working to determine how it started.
A new executive order signed by President Donald Trump requires people to prove they are an American citizen in order to register to vote. It also would withhold funding from states that do not enforce the requirement. Amy Kiley explains the impact of the order.
Voter ID and just one other thing, proof of a thing called citizenship in the United States. Wouldn't that be nice?
An executive order President Donald Trump signed yesterday boosts proof of citizenship requirements for voting in federal elections. It faces legal hurdles, including a Supreme Court ruling that a generic voter registration form is sufficient. Plus, state and local officials run elections, not the federal government. Trump's order tries to overcome that by using funding threats as leverage.
I think it's a great executive order. It makes all the sense in the world.
Trump's allies are praising the move. Critics say it could disenfranchise some legitimate voters.
Democrats have fought this. They think it will cut down on voter turnout. It will suppress the vote. Fewer people will be able to get to the polls.
If you had to prove your citizenship to vote, here's what you'd have to do under the executive order. You could show your passport, military ID card, or qualifying state or federal photo ID. Otherwise, you'd need proof that complies with the REAL ID Act of 2005. You could use your birth certificate if it meets requirements like having a raised seal. Other options include certificates of naturalization or citizenship, or a consular report indicating you were born abroad. If you've changed your name, you might need additional proof like a marriage license.
How simple does that sound?
That was Amy Kiley reporting. A Supreme Court ruling mandates that states accept a generic voter registration form offered by the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. The form does not require citizenship documents. The EAC says it is reviewing the executive order and will determine next steps.
The Department of Homeland Security is pausing the review of green card applications for some refugees and asylum seekers. The order impacts refugees who were given the green light to come to the U.S. and people who were granted asylum in court. The federal agency plans to conduct additional screening with the goal of recognizing fraud, public safety, or national security concerns. The perils of AI, a warning of how companies will use artificial intelligence to reduce staff and cut costs.
But then the perks of AI, the new feature coming soon to ChatGPT to easily create any visual you may need. We love that you're tuned in right now. Even when you're not near a TV, you can still watch WRAL News live on WRAL.com or on the WRAL News app.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, we continue to follow that breaking news out of Durham, a very large fire at a salvage yard there on Wren Road. You can see this is a live picture from Sky 5. Dozens of fire engines on scene here working to get these flames out. I want you to look just beyond the plumes of smoke, though. There are residential homes not far from where this fire is. You can see the water being poured on all of these cars that appear to have caught fire here. Just a couple of moments ago, we saw a pretty large explosion right in the middle of where all this smoke is coming from. So we're working to get more answers about what happened here, what time this started. There are dozens of firefighters on scene here working to get these flames out. This, again, is on Wren Road in Durham, not very far from 885, very close to some homes. You can see the smoke for miles. So we're going to stay on top of this and bring you the latest from the Live Center.
Those car tires always put up that black smoke. It is thick. Our Teacher of the Week is only in her third year, leading her kindergarten class at Davis Drive Elementary.
WRAL's Ken Smith introduces us to a teacher who knew from a very young age that she wanted to become one.
This one's going to be emotion.
Allison Taft is homegrown.
Everyone say read. Can you guys tell me the sounds in this word?
And proud to be teaching in the same Wake County School District that educated her. She proudly displays her own first grade picture right outside her classroom.
I had really awesome teachers growing up, and they just really inspired me, and I just wanted to do that for other kids. Reach. What's my word? Reach. Reach. Tell me the sounds in reach.
Taft is a first grade teacher at Davis Drive Elementary School. She remembers deciding to be a teacher around the same age as her current students, and she recalls what her second grade teacher wrote in her journal.
And at the end, it was like, I'll be waiting for you to teach second grade with me in 15 years. Like, I'll share my school supplies with you. So it's been forever. Yeah, I've always wanted to do this.
Now, did you go back to that teacher?
She's not teaching anymore, but I did reach out to her over social media, and she was like, you made my day. Oh my gosh. Soccer. And that one was a tricky word. Okay.
Each and every day, what makes her day is seeing her students learn and thrive.
If a kid's struggling and it really clicks, it just like all the hard work pays off, and like their eyes light up, and it's just amazing. I love watching them like grow, and just seeing them from the beginning of the year to the end is awesome.
Miss Taft, you are WRAL's Teacher of the Week. Congratulations. Ken Smith, WRAL News.
Her school-age pictures were adorable. Did you see that? She was destined to do this. If you'd like to nominate a teacher, go to WRAL.com and enter Teacher of the Week in the search box.
Reshaping shopping. Amazon is testing out a new feature. Next, the ways it could improve your shopping experience.
And tech transition. Companies are incorporating AI into the workforce. Next, how employers can effectively make the switch to AI while avoiding layoffs. As more people integrate their lives with artificial intelligence, some fear the technology will go from helpful to harmful. Sean Langiel explains why companies will have to effectively transition into AI use to avoid broad layoffs.
Since the public has had wide-scale access to it, artificial intelligence technology continues to rapidly advance. And while it may need some tweaking, its abilities are powerful.
Understanding what an image is about, helping you, provide voice instructions, or making decisions that are fairly complex.
But its growing popularity and integration into a variety of industries continues fueling the debate over whether AI will be a game changer or a job eliminator in the near future.
When people ask me the question, will AI take my job? I say, well, let's pause, because let's not panic first. Let's first start with what task will AI do better than what you're already doing.
Some business experts argue AI is here to stay and advise people and companies to learn how to use it ethically to grow, predicting corporations that don't may face a dim future.
We might have a situation where people realize, wow, it's not all it's made out to be, which will prompt more technological refinements and eventually reach a point where it's a no-brainer. You get ROI on AI products. But the one thing is for clear. If you don't use AI, and you look the other way, there's a good chance in 4 to 5 years you're going to be left behind as a company.
And while AI will lead to some changes, experts recommend businesses refine workers' jobs accordingly to advance workflow without triggering mass layoffs.
The important thing here to recognize is that when all those tasks get taken out, it's not necessarily the case that humans get taken out. For redundant, easy tasks, you can get AI out of the way.
That was Sean Langill reporting. While AI will lead to some changes, experts recommend businesses refine workers' jobs accordingly to advance workflow without triggering mass layoffs.
Amazon is testing new shopping and health assistants as it dives further into generative AI. It is called a feature called Interests AI. It prompts users to enter conversational search queries. Then it generates a selection of products. Amazon is also launching a chatbot focused on health and wellness. Health AI can answer questions like how to deal with cold symptoms or the flu and suggest products. The site says the service cannot provide personalized medical advice. All ChatGPT users will soon have the ability to create images directly inside the OpenAI program. Currently, to create AI images, users have to use the program DALL-E. The new feature will generate high-quality images based on prompts, conversation, and uploaded files. The company says the image generator can create infographics, social media posts, pictures with text, and more. There has been no confirmed date on when the new tool will become available.
No need to go to ChatGPT when we have the weather source right at our fingertips here as we go to meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner on the WRAL weather patio with how nice it is right now.
Yep, but nothing artificial here. I'll just have the regular human intelligence as we're telling you about what's happening with the weather. So pretty out here. We take a look at Fayetteville, Raleigh, Apex, and Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill's courtesy of Top of the Hill Restaurant. It's a beautiful afternoon here in the gardens. There have been a few people here. We're just beginning to see the azaleas pop up a little bit. I mean, there's not much color to be seen, but like over here beside me, there are a few azaleas that maybe have one bloom per bush on them. So we know it's coming about another week. And I would say this, next week, first week of April, it should really be pretty out here. Warm and humid starting Saturday. Of course, it's chilly and breezy for today and tomorrow. But Friday, we start our warm up and our flow will shift to southerly. And it's going to bring our high to around 80 on Saturday and bring in a little more moisture as well. On Sunday, late in the day, ahead of the front, we'll likely see some scattered showers and storms. And then on Monday, we may have some severe weather. This is going to be our next weather maker that we have, again, late Sunday into Monday. Here's a look at the big picture. I'm starting to see some precipitation along that stationary front between Dallas and Houston. That's not coming anywhere near us. The front that we will see over the weekend is still on the Pacific coast. It's got a long way to go before it gets here. But here's what it could look like. By 8 p.m. on Sunday, we're seeing a flow coming out of the south. It's going to be warm, moist. We'll have that chance of some late afternoon, evening thunderstorms. And then the front crosses the Mississippi Valley. It doesn't arrive until Monday. Monday morning may be fairly dry, and then afternoon and evening looks like the timeline for when this could move through. We'll watch that closely. This is certainly not the final answer on the timeline. As we get closer to the weekend, especially say Friday, we begin to see our short-term high-resolution models coming in, and that gives us a much better idea of specific timing for these different bands of rain that'll come through. How much rainfall will we see? I feel like the models are showing maybe lighter than what we might see, looking at maybe a quarter to half an inch here on the model. But with these two lines coming through, I really feel like we're probably going to be more like half an inch to 3/4 of an inch. So what does that mean for your outdoor plans? Green light for Saturday. It looks great. It'll be warm, it'll be breezy, it'll be sunny, all good. And then we should start off with dry conditions on Sunday morning, and then we'll see a chance of storms in the afternoon and evening. But of course, that timing could change, so keep checking back. On Monday is when we'll have the best chance of severe storms. Sunday, that severe weather threat will be back to our west. So Monday, we're watching potentially for a weather alert day. It's possible that we would have a level 2 risk for severe storms on Monday. Fortunately, it's out of here Tuesday. Tuesday is the Bulls home opener. Can you believe that? Already looks nice and bright for next Tuesday.
Time for it. Ready to go?
Sure sign of spring.
Sign of spring. Thanks, Elizabeth. Pet Potty. An animal shelter hopes to score adoptions with a special event, how the pets could get drafted into a new home.
And here's a look at your winning Mega Millions numbers. Here's a look at the top stories we're following for you today. Sky 5 is live over the scene right now of a fire at a Durham salvage yard. The fire is burning in the 1200 block of Wren Road. Crews appear to be making progress dousing the flames, but you can see the black smoke for miles. It's unclear how the fire started. We're working to find out if anyone has been injured. WRAL will continue to monitor this story, and we will bring you updates on air and online.
Wildfires burning in western North Carolina have destroyed at least 11 homes so far, and more than 6,000 acres have been burned. Black Cove and Deep Woods fires are both 0% contained. The Fishhook fire is 72% contained. Officials determined the cause of the Fishhook and Black Cove fires to be downed power lines.
Today marks 6 months since Hurricane Helene decimated parts of western North Carolina. More than a dozen leaders are meeting today with FEMA officials in Washington, D.C. They are sharing stories of their ongoing recovery and long-term needs. 1 week ago, Governor Josh Stein signed a $500 million aid package to help rebuild those communities.
A Wisconsin Animal Sanctuary is hosting a special event to encourage people to foster the pets currently up for adoption. The Happily Ever After Animal Sanctuary is hosting an NFL draft-style party at the 2025 NFL Draft as it comes to Green Bay. Now, the shelter is located just a mile away from the Packers' home field of Lambeau Field. Officials say this